Hi guys, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to talk about creating WBS activity. And you can say that entire IT industry is running on this particular activity because no matter what you do, you cannot build anything unless you create a WBS for this. WBS stands for work breakdown structure. Now, you create these items in order to decompose the entire project activities, entire project work, and use them for billing and accounting purpose. Let's take the example of a software development project. Now, in software development project, if we divide it into few phases, we can say that initial phase will be design phase, or rather requirement gathering phase. So phase one, requirement gathering. Phase two, solution development. Phase three, coding and development. Phase four, testing. Now let's take these four phases as four activities. Now you will create WBS for these four activities. They will have different codes, and those codes are used for separate teams. So development team will use the coding and development WBS while charging in the timesheet. BAs will use design and requirement gathering codes. Testers will use testing WPS code. So it's all about breaking down the entire work into smaller pieces which are manageable, because the key here is to understand what all changes we are doing here, how that project will be delivered, what kind of changes will be required. And every activity, every major, minor, significant activity need to have its own WBS. Let's say, I just used four phases, but let's say coding. Within coding, there are multiple kind of activities. Let's say you are working on the web service coding and the UI coding. So there are different sections within coding. Now it's better to have different WPS codes for different activities, because that will help you with better understandings. Let's say a year down the lane, you want to generate some kind of report to understand the distribution of overall efforts. Having better decomposition of work in the format of WBS will help you in better understanding. So try to decompose your work in the best possible manner and avoid these high level. Now, of course, your high level WBS will be required, and we will see how they are used. But the point is, try to have maximum decomposition. Now, these are the type of WBS. So basically, we have largely task oriented, deliverable oriented, and time phased oriented WBS. So at the time of doing decomposition, the first example which I used, where I divided the project work into four pieces: requirement gathering, solution development, coding, and testing. These are task oriented. You can also use deliverable oriented. So you can develop, or rather divide project work into the deliverables, and then use that for creating your WBS. Time phased is usually used when the project is really big. So in those cases, you can, phase one, phase two, you can use something like that to create WBS. But the most important part of WBS is their representation. So these are four type of their representation: list view, hierarchical structure, tabular view, and tree structure view. I have a document which I have created here. I will attach it in the resource section, and it will be your assignment to create something similar like this. So at this stage, I will show you, you will have access to this document. But while doing your assignment, try to, apply your knowledge, information, your exposure. So if you are working in some team, if you are already have some kind of exposure to project management, it's better if you use your example. So this is a typical work breakdown structure document. Here you can see the first representation is a list view. It's very basic. We have just divided the project into phases, and based upon each phase, we have created subheadings which are basically representing the WBS here. So each point here will have their own WBS code. So if I'm using this code, then the project management team knows that I'm working on this particular activity. If I'm using some other WBS code, um, that will be clearly representing the actual task, actual work I'm doing. So it's really helpful. And list view is very basic. Another way of representing it is hierarchical structure. Here, basically, we create tables. Each you can see that it will have the level, it will have the WBS code, and it will have the element name. So WBS is the level 1. Level 2 is the subdivision. And within each subdivision, there will be multiple activities. So if we go back, at the top, we have the project. This is the level 1. Then at level 2, we have initiation, project planning, and these headings. Then at level 3, we have these activities. If there is any sub activity within this, that will be level 4. So we use this kind of hierarchy here to create a hierarchical structure representation for WBS. So here we will have these levels. Within that level, we will have these individual activities and their code. Another way of putting it is tabular view. So here you can see it's level 1 print generation system. It is basically nothing else. You can say it's a name of the project. Then we have level 2, then level 3. And the other structure here is graphical way. So let me just increase here. So you can see that here in this tree structure, it's a generic graphical structure, but it is again following a hierarchical structure, but the representation is graphical here. And one very critical element of any WBS document is WBS dictionary. You must include this with all the details. So this dictionary will have all the elements, their level, their WBS code, their name, and the definition. So definition basically means description. So you have to include all of these details in your assignment. And please take some time. I mean, you can see that it's a big document, so I know it will take some time, but more time you put into it, better clarity you will have, and you will understand the different processes, all the processes which goes into this. So, and you must create it on your own. Going back to our slide, so these are the four structure. I will suggest to you, recommend you to have all of these four, but again, it's up to you. If you want to select any particular method, you can also do that. So this is the input output diagram. You can see, and in fact you can understand that as we are talking about the work and its decomposition, we will have project management plan and the scope management plan and other project documents. We have project scope statement, requirement documentation is going to be there, environmental factors, OPAs, expert judgment and decomposition. These are the standard tools and techniques we use for decomposition here. And the output will be scope baseline, project document update, assumption log, requirement documentation. And application is also similar. Project management plan, it will also help in baselining the scope, and then of course the project documentation like assumption log, requirement documentation, etc. So WBS is really vital. Please pay attention to the document I have attached. Go through the details and try to create one yourself. Thank you.